so I'm going to be drilling the hole for the CO2 line towards the back of the collar, or this side of the collar, so that I can put the gas line through and connect it straight to the secondary regulars without there being, like a length over the corner of the Keezer. So it'll just be easier for me to thread it to the manifold without having to waste too much gas line on that operation. So let's go ahead and drill it in. Alright, so luckily I was able to get the hose through with the 9/16 outside diameter and the 9/16 hole, and it's really tight, nice and snug. So as you see, it went all the way through perfectly, and it's nice and tight in there, and so you have to really pull from the other side to really get it through. So I'm not going to make the hole any bigger because, I want it to be nice and tight. So let's go ahead and drill our final hole, which is for the temperature controller, which I'll put on the back. Alright, I'll be right back. I'm going to be putting it right near the hinge, where the hinge is going to go. I'm not going to drill it to the right of the hinge because I don't want to, come into any trouble when I put the hinge back on and there's not enough room. So I'm going to be putting the probe hole about an inch or inch and a half from where the hinge is. And I decided that I'm going to go for a 730 seconds drill bit. A friend gave me some drill bits, so I don't know if this is exactly the 7/32, but it seemed to be good when I measured it up against the wire for the temperature probe. So let's go ahead and get the hole drilled. So what we're going to do now is first I'm going to put some of this pre-stained wood conditioner on, and then I'm going to do this Ipswich pine stain. So this one doesn't have polyurethane in it, and for the lid, especially in the top piece, I'm not going to be able to put polyurethane because it'll ruin or interact badly with the epoxy. So I'm going to have to be very careful to not use any polyurethane on anything that's going to go close to the epoxy, which just basically means the inside of the trim of the lid and the wood piece for the top of the lid. I'm going to open this can with a key, and I'm going to be using this brush to apply the pre-stain. And then I've seen people use brushes for staining, but I think using my little 99-cent sponge will work better because it'll absorb more stain than maybe and coat a little more according to the wood grain than a brush would. So I'm going to go ahead, get everything set up, and then show you a little bit of everything. Cheers. What I did was, in terms of the stain, I did 2 coats on the out of the whole thing, the inner and outer collar, and because the oak was already darker to begin with, I did a 3rd coat on the inner collar. I didn't stain the back of the collar just because I didn't feel it's going to be against the wall every place I put this Keezer, so I didn't stain it, but I did polyurethane it, so it'll be sealed from moisture. So that's that. Then with the lid, I also did three layers of stain. As you see here, it's nice and darker now, much darker now. I might put a little bit more, mix a little stain for the second coat of polyurethane on this, just to make it a tinge darker to match with the outer collar a touch more. But overall, the 3 coats really made the color come nice and close, as close as possible. I mean, some would say put a 4th coat, but I just don't have a patience. So it's pretty good overall so far. I'm purposely not polyurethaning, putting polyurethane on the top of the lid and on the inner part of the border, because the epoxy could react negatively with the chemicals in the polyurethane, and I don't want to ruin my chances of it, of the epoxy part with the beer caps coming out good. So in terms of, I'll just grab the temperature controller. I decided that I wasn't going to use my extra oak to make a box for the temperature controller. I was just going to go the typical way for STC 1000s, and then either Velcro it to the back or one of the sides, or have it sitting on top of the lid, just so people can see what temperature it's sitting at. And that's why I like that the Radio Shack boxes come with a stainless steel top, so it gives it like a nice, a little bit more of a sleek look on top. So I have it this way because the feet are on the bottom, so I would just basically sit it on top of the Keezer, and it would kind of look cool with the caps with the metallic top. And then instead of an outlet, I have the other end of an extension cord that I bought, where the freezer will plug into, and if I want, I put a splitter there for when I put the fan in. And then I have this end goes into the wall, and then of course this wire has the probe on it. So overall, I'm pretty much ready to go. Once I finish staining and polyurethaning everything, staining and sealing, I should say. I don't know, I guess I made up a word of polyurethaning. But what I have to do is, after I do the 2 coats on the collar, I have to flip it over, and it dries. I have to at some point, before I put it back on the freezer itself, I have to flip it and make sure that the inside, even the part, if I have enough polyurethane left, I want to also seal the part that's going to be hanging over, just so all the wood is sealed, and not just the more obvious parts that are coming in contact with the cold air from the freezers.